The metallic taste of blood wasn't new to me, but the calm voice that followed was. "You have 3 seconds," he said, every syllable deliberate like a clock ticking toward something inevitable. My vision pulsed with pain. "My name is Elena Hart, and 6 hours ago I was just an art appraiser with a quiet life. Now I was on the floor of a marble office face to face with the kind of man mothers warn their daughters about." He leaned closer, his hand gripping my chin, not rough, just enough to remind me he was in control. "Who sent you into my house?" I whispered, "I don't know." He smiled without warmth. 1 second gone, the room tilted. I wasn't sure if it was the concussion or fear, but I couldn't think straight. "Please." "I was hired to appraise a collection. Robert something. He called yesterday." His eyes narrowed. "Robert doesn't exist." That was the last thing I heard before everything faded to black. When I woke, sunlight flooded glass walls. The bed was soft, the air too clean, too expensive. "You're awake," a man's voice said. "The same one. You're safe. For now." I turned my head. He sat in an armchair, sleeves rolled, eyes the color of storm clouds. "Where am I?" "In my penthouse." "You were drugged. Hit your head. My doctor says you'll live. You undressed me?" He shook his head. "Elena did. My assistant. Your clothes are being cleaned." He poured amber liquid into a glass. "Drink, it'll help." I hesitated. "Why help me?" He leaned forward. "Because someone used you to break into my house. And I don't like being used." That was how I learned his name, Adrian Voss. Real estate magnate by day. Something far more dangerous by night. By evening, my fear had curdled into something stranger. Curiosity. He stood by the window, city lights carving his silhouette into something out of a dream. "You were bait," he said flatly. "Whoever hired you wanted me distracted. Then I'll leave. I don't want any part of this. You can't." His tone was calm, final. "They know your name, your face, your schedule. You're safer here." The words sounded like protection, but felt like a cage. The next morning, I tried to leave anyway. A man in black blocked the elevator. Mr. Voss said no. When I stormed back upstairs, Adrian was in his office. "I don't need your permission to go home." He looked up, one brow raised. "You're free to die, Elena, but I'd rather you didn't." There was something about the way he said my name, like it meant more than I wanted it to. He added, "The man who sent you? He's missing, and I intend to find out why." That should have terrified me. Instead, I asked, "Do you always fix problems with threats?" His gaze softened. "Only when kindness fails." Days blurred together. I healed. He worked. We circled each other like wary animals, both curious, both pretending not to be. He was ruthless but disciplined. His men feared him, yet trusted him. And somewhere between the silence and the espresso at dawn, I started seeing the cracks, the moments when he almost smiled. One night I asked, "Why do you collect art if your world is built on fear?" He said, "Because beauty reminds me there's still something worth saving." That was the moment I stopped being afraid of him. A week later, everything exploded. I woke to shouting. Boots thundered through the hall. When I opened my door, Adrian was in the foyer, blood on his sleeve. "What happened?" I whispered. "Betrayal." The word hung heavy. He turned to one of his men, tall, scarred, grim. "Lock it down," he saw me and exhaled. "You shouldn't be here." "I'm not hiding," I said. "Tell me what's going on." He hesitated, then finally said, "One of mine sold information. Now he's running." Something inside me twisted. "He'll come back for revenge." "No," Adrian said. "He'll come back for forgiveness. And he won't get it." That night, he found the traitor. A man named Donovan, bruised, bleeding, begging. Adrian stood over him, gun drawn. "You sold us out." "I had no choice," Donovan cried. "They took my sister. They said they'd kill her if I didn't help." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Everyone has a choice." I stepped forward. "If they have her, she's still leverage." "Use that." He turned toward me, eyes burning. "You're defending him?" "I'm asking you to be human." For a long time, he didn't move. Then slowly, he lowered the gun. "Find her," he told his men. "Bring her home." As Donovan sobbed in relief, Adrian looked at me. "You just saved a man who would have killed you." "Maybe," I said softly. "But mercy doesn't make you weak." He looked away. "No, Elena, it makes you mine." He meant protection. I tried to tell myself that. Days passed. We ate together, argued, laughed. The air between us grew heavy with something unspoken. Then, one evening in his armory, rows of guns gleaming under cold light. He looked at me and said, "You shouldn't care what happens to me." "I do." He smirked. "Why?" "Because I've seen the man you're trying to be." He stepped closer, close enough that his breath touched my skin. "And what man is that?" "One who wants to be forgiven." He kissed me, hard, desperate, like confession. When I woke the next morning, he was gone. Marcus, his second in command, told me he's leading the operation himself. "To rescue Donovan's sister," I wanted to scream. "He'll get killed." Marcus shook his head. "He doesn't die easily." Hours crawled by. Then headlights flared outside. Adrian walked in. Dust, sweat, blood, but alive. Behind him, a terrified young woman. "She's safe," he said simply. Donovan ran to her, sobbing. Adrian watched them, then turned to me. "You were right. About what?" He smiled faintly. "Mercy." But peace didn't last. A week later, news broke. His rivals were retaliating. Adrian's empire was cracking. He paced his study, phone in hand. "They think I've gone soft." "You have," I said. "And that's not a bad thing." He slammed the phone down. "You don't understand. Power is the only language they speak. Then teach them a new one." He looked at me like I'd said something impossible. "You think I can change the world?" "No," I whispered. "But maybe you can change yours." That night, he called for a meeting. Rivals, allies, enemies, all in one room. I stood beside him, terrified but unflinching. He offered them something none expected. Peace. Shared territory, mutual rules, an end to pointless bloodshed. The room went silent. Then slowly, one by one, they agreed. When it was over, he turned to me. "You were right again." "I usually am." He laughed, the sound raw and real. "Stay with me, Elena. You're asking me to live in your shadow. I'm asking you to help me build something better." Weeks passed. The city quieted. His enemies became allies. His name, once whispered in fear, now carried respect. One evening, he led me to his private gallery. Moonlight spilled over the paintings. "My mother loved these," he said softly. "She used to tell me, 'Love makes you brave.'" He turned to me, holding a small velvet box. "I don't know what this is," I whispered. "It's everything," he said. "Marry me, not because I saved you, but because you saved me." Tears blurred the world. "Adrian, I want to build a life worth protecting." "Yes," I breathed. Yes, the wedding was small. Just his men, my closest friend, and the art that started it all. When we exchanged vows, he said, "You turned my chaos into purpose." And I said, "You turned my fear into fire." Later that night, he pulled me close. "Do you ever regret it?" "Choosing this world?" I smiled. "Regret is for people who never loved enough to risk everything." He kissed me, slow and sure. "Then we're already rich. Now, when people speak his name, they don't whisper fear. They speak of the man who changed the rules, who built peace out of violence, love out of ruin. And when they speak mine, they say, 'The woman who taught him mercy.' Sometimes I look at the scar on his hand, the mark of all the wars he fought before he found me, and I realize love didn't tame the darkness. It taught it how to protect the light. So if my story finds you when you need it most, remember, you can survive. You can start again, and sometimes the danger that breaks you becomes the love that saves you." If this story touched you, like this video, share it, and subscribe to Winds of Thought. Because sometimes survival is just the beginning.